Sex and the City series and first two movies is my personal Roman Empire. As a woman who was born in the 90s, I grew up with these very romantic ideas in my mind of what my life in 30s gonna be like. And Carrie Bradshaw was indeed an icon, a role model. By the time I've reached 30, two things happened. First, my prefrontal cortex got fully developed, which ultimately led to the second one, which is understanding that Carrie by no means can be anyone's icon nor role model. I am not going to debunk all bad behaviors of Carrie in this video. There are plenty of content and extremely interesting and insightful views on what she did wrong and why, but there is one thing which I personally find very intriguing, mostly because I see it happening in real life way too often. And it is the love Carrie was looking for. I know there are many videos on YouTube where now it is very popular to say that it was not love, but limerence from her side. However, I do not think it is entirely true. I want to explore today the mechanics of what hold this toxic couple of Carrie and Mr. Big together, why they are actually perfect for each other, and how you can make sure that you are not going to end up in the similar relationship dynamic. For many women, there is a particular exquisite pleasure in the fact of being chosen by a man like Mr. Big. And it is understandable. Mr. Big is rich, old money type of rich, handsome, which is already quite a rare combination, and successful. Final boss of all finance bros, dating models type of finance bro. So when you being liked by him, it might seem it says something about you as a person. Something like, oh my God, he likes me. I must be so cool, smart, pretty, whatever. And this is very alluring to women like Carrie. Carrie's not a villain or not a villain of the scale as she's being portrayed. She is quite a regular woman with a low self-esteem. Stupid things she does not because she's evil, but because she's very scared and has very poor concept of self-worth. Let's go in chronological order to see how this relationship, if we may actually call them like this, started. Literally, in the first episode, Carrie says an iconic thing, which will be a main theme of her perception of Mr. Big and the highlight of their relationship. While describing him, she says, major tycoon and majorly out of my league. This is where his nickname, Mr. Big, comes from. His nickname says a lot about Carrie and the way she perceives him. If you study the French psychoanalysis a bit, you might find it coincidental, or maybe it wasn't at all, that there is a literal term, the big other, which refers to a powerful parent-like figure under whose watch we are. And as in every child wants to be liked, loved, and protected by their parent, their big other, Carrie, projects the same desires to Mr. Big. And this is a root of all 6 seasons of Hell and 2 other movies too. So the moment this big other enters her life, or like Mr. Big in this case, Carrie simply wants one thing: to be chosen by him, to be chosen by her parents. We later learn that she has never had a father, so Mr. Big, who is older, richer, more established, and powerful, is a perfect mirror to project all these fantasies about the father she never had. That's actually another important topic When you do not have a first-hand experience with a father figure, you start idealizing and fantasizing about how you want it to be. But these fantasies and projections are far, far from reality. When you see it in real life, you usually get quite disappointed because fantasy is always better. And this whole dynamic starts developing into push and pull theatrical play, which basically holds only on Carrie's deepest wound of not being enough to be chosen. And Mr. Big, well, Mr. Big makes sure to confirm it every single opportunity. On their first date, he comes with a friend. Maybe she should have picked his friend at this point. But frankly, that has been the biggest sign that the second date should never follow. However, as you already understood, if you haven't more serious, there was a second date, which in reality is actually their first date. And they have sex quite immediately. To make sure that we are dealing with a kid and a body of a grown woman, right after leaving her apartment, she confesses, I was dying to sleep with him. But isn't a delayed gratification sign of maturity? Exactly, Carrie. Exactly. Spot on. Now you can go and act like a child and sleep with him. This is actually a problem for many people. We do have enough self-awareness to understand what maturity is, but emotionally, your inner child, our inner child, leads the process. And child should not be given such a power in any situation. So back to the characters. After the sex happened, Carrie again says, I cannot be held by rules. I go with my emotions. This is a sign of two things. First of all, she indeed did not have a father figure, because in psychoanalysis, the ability to live by the rules, or rather introduction to rules, or the concept of rules and order, are given by father figure. Second thing is that Carrie is mentally 6 years old, who lives from one tantrum to another. Everything she does from this moment are different ways of trying to control Mr. Big, like a child wants to control the parent. She needs to poke Mr. Big every time, every single time, to make sure he's into her. He likes her. He responds. Instead of giving him time and space to show his real intentions. Because no action is a very clear sign. Do not confuse a man's reaction or response with his initiative. Big isn't pursuing Carrie. He's just answering the door because she keeps knocking. She keeps knocking on it. For Big, she is a pleasant, very low effort addition to his lavish environment. For Carrie, his mere reaction is twisted into proof that magic is working. She's controlling him. And just this performance, I have seen so many times in my life or among friends where the very much reactive behavior was interpreted as a, I still got him. He's interested in me. Right? When we want someone's attention, we rarely care at what cost and how it's been given to us. Attention is attention, right? Said that, it doesn't mean that if they would not sleep on the first date, or de facto second date, all of it would go differently. No, not at all. The problem is not the fact that they had sex. The problem is that she wanted from him something he could never give to her, nor he wanted to give to her. But because all the time she poked him, initiated communication, and was always present in his orbit, he simply reacted, as he reacted to other women who were around too. We will learn in the next episode that for him, relationship with Carrie were not exclusive. And again, none of it mattered to Carrie the moment she learned. Because the harder the price to get, the more validation she'll extract out of it. So instead of seeing things for what they are, she just thought she has to be better, stronger, less demanding, and more understanding, and then she will get her control over him. But the price will be just completely rewriting her identity for him, for his validation. What is really interesting in their dynamic is that there was never a love bombing stage from Mr. Big. Normally, with the type of man like Big is, and he's no saint by any means, but anyhow, the type of man like Mr. Big is very good with love bombing, and they have tendency to perform it, and like they're very good with manipulating intensity of relationship. He knows how to do it. He did it with Natasha. What we learn in the second season is that he met her Natasha in Paris in a cafe and immediately sent her a bottle of their finest Pinot Noir. I can bet if you are a woman who was in this situation or in a similar one, you know usually nothing good comes out of such a grand gesture. And after that, he got married to Natasha in just about 5 months. Many content creators reviewing the series are speculating maybe he was dating Natasha before simultaneously with Carrie. But no, not really. Like, I can easily believe that he doesn't have to. He is a man who likes his chase. He gets high on intensity and emotions of other people around. And if you wonder why he would love bomb Natasha, but not Carrie, hang on here. I will let you know in a few. But now back to Carrie. We see it at the very first season where she freaks out after farting in front of Mr. Big. Like, for the love of God, she's a 32 years old woman sleeping with a man 10 years older, making a huge deal out of the fact that he noticed, God forbid, the sign of her existence. Well, I genuinely don't know how to comment on it, or like, who needs to hear that? But ladies, hear me out. If a man loves a woman, there is nothing she can do that he will all of a sudden stop loving her. Like, literally nothing. Carrie's other boyfriend, Aiden, proves it later in the series where he gets back with her after she cheated on him. So if the innocent fart can break your relationship, probably this was never meant to be. Anyhow, Carrie's reaction to her own fart was a perfect explanation of their dynamic. She always had to pretend that she is something else. Kid Carrie, small Carrie, she says it herself. I would find myself sometimes posing. It's exhausting. Because Carrie spent season 1 hyper-focusing on his reactions rather than on his initiative, which was basically non-existent, she missed the giant flashing sign that he wasn't pursuing her. He liked her company when it was convenient for him. For Big, Carrie was a fun playground. For Carrie, Big was a burning building she was trying to save herself from. So why Mr. Big would never love bomb Carrie? Because she was never his dream woman. Simple. Respectfully, he was never that much into her. She was there. She was fun, kind of pretty. But real high, he was getting from classical beauty brunettes and models. And he married 2 classy brunettes, and he was going crazy over another one, the actress. The women Mr. Big marries or obsessed with also have another thing in common: the status symbol. Big is a high status corporate animal. He marries Natasha, classy brunette model type, because she looks like the life he's supposed to have. Sending her bottle of Pinot Noir in Paris is a performance of his own wealth and power. Marrying Natasha after you got divorced because you cheated on your wife is a way to get a lost peer's respect back. He chases her because winning her feeds his external ego. Dating an actress does exactly the same. And by the way, he slept with an actress on the first meeting, not even a date too. And guess what? He was going crazy about her. Also, like, it's questionable, did they sleep with Natasha on the first date after the bottle of Pinot Noir? Think about it. And on the other hand, Carrie, with her chaotic fashion and loud public sex column, his comfort object. She's a low-effort fun. She will come over with good mood and pizza. He can be messy, selfish, and completely emotionally lazy and detached with her because he knows she isn't going anywhere. He gets the high of her emotional tantrums and total devotion without ever having to invest a single grand gesture. And again, I'm not saying here love bombing is good, and if nobody love bombs you, relationship are not worthy. No, quite the opposite. Big at Natasha. Love bombing led to a quick marriage, infidelity, and a very nasty divorce. So no love bombing needed. What is needed if you want to build a relationship with a man is to give him opportunity to show his intentions rather than influence his reactions. We are moving on season 3, and it's probably the most interesting one. Carrie acts like a kid from the very beginning. Like to mention, she likes Aidan Shaw, right? Like, she lies him from the beginning about being a designer. She lies him about smoking, forces to have sex as soon as possible, and gets angry when it does not happen, like a kid in a Disneyland. But despite all of that, somehow she ends up in a relationship with him. And this is a deal breaker for Mr. Big. This is, in my opinion, is the main reason why he cheated on Natasha. Not because he loves Carrie, but because he cannot stand the fact that his favorite groupie is not after him anymore. And moreover, she is in love with another man. How dare she? Remember how Carrie was spiraling over perfect Natasha, comparing herself to her? Big did the same comparison with Aidan, with all his comments about his perfume, work, lifestyle, etc. Big wasn't just annoyed that Carrie moved on. He was deeply threatened by the type of a man she chose. Aidan represents a raw, uncurated masculinity that doesn't need a corporate title or old money to feel secure. By picking on Aidan, Big was desperately trying to re-establish his own position as the big other, unconsciously. So a man like Mr. Big, the ultimate finance bro, with zero ethical ground, will do anything, like anything, to prove to himself that this cute toy named Carrie, who was chasing him for 2 seasons straight, still belongs to him. If needed, he will wait for her in a hotel bar in the middle of the workday. Like, aren't you supposed to work, man? It's not a romance. It's mutual feeding ground for two deeply insecure egos. Carrie gets the fake proof that she is better than Natasha and Big gets his favorite toy back on his shelf. He doesn't need it, but it's just nice to have. Not even sure that he wants it. The fun part of it is that Carrie and Big are quite the same. She will perform the very same mental gymnastics and emotional roller coaster on Aiden in the following season just to try to win him back. When Aiden finally leaves her after the fair, Ida suffers the exact same crisis that Big suffered when she moved on. She doesn't want Aiden because she genuinely respects his peace, his lifestyle, or his boundaries. No, she wants to conquer him again to prove that her mistakes didn't permanently devalue her. She turns Aiden into her groupie, using the exact same emotional warfare Big used on her in hotel lobby. And obviously, sex is the best tool for Carrie to get her validation. So she goes full on. Just like Big couldn't handle his favorite groupie moving on, Carrie cannot handle the fact that good guy has successfully closed the door on her. Her low self-esteem kicks in. If Aiden doesn't forgive her, it means she is permanently broken. She writes him emails. She pushes her way back into his orbit when he tells her how deeply she hurt him. She doesn't step back out of respect. She doubles down. Why? Because a child doesn't care about the partner's pain. A child just wants their security blanket back. And what happens the second Aiden is back on her shelf? She immediately starts suffocating under his presence again. The moment he wants to marry her and build a real house, real relationship, real family, she panics because the child didn't actually want a stable partnership. She just wanted to win the chase. She just wanted this fancy toy. This is the ultimate warning for anyone navigating their 30s. When you spend your life normalizing emotional chaos, you mistake peace for boredom, and you mistake an active siege for romance. In season 6, these two end up together. Just for Mr. Big not to show up at their wedding next in the movie. This is how screenwriting has picked. Like, really, besides the fact that he did not participate in the wedding preparations anyhow, he allowed disrespect from his own friend at the rehearsal dinner, like towards Carrie and towards like them, like their couple. He had the audacity to say, "Oh, I changed my mind again." He changed his mind again, and decided to go back to this library where they're supposed to get married. Like, man, you are 50 years old. What this half a century of life experience had taught you? Well, definitely Carrie alone taught him that he could get away with basically anything, including this behavior. Because guess what? She will still marry him just to face in the second movie that he will use. He will use any given opportunity to flirt with a sexy brunette. Like, Carrie, my girl, he doesn't care. He doesn't love you. And he lets you know every single time. But since they are the same, so she does what he does. And when the opportunity presents itself, she kisses Aiden. And like a child, she calls Big to tell him what she did wrong. And this is very interesting. He doesn't freak out. Why would he, right? He must probably were not that innocent either, considering his long history of cheating on his wives. And having his wife away from him for several days might just help him to cheat again in peace. Probably in their own apartment, as he used to do it with Carrie. So that's why there is a ring at the end. The ring he gifts her is not a love sign. It's a prepaid Amazon card to keep her occupied with herself and not with his potential affairs. And by the way, this major tycoon with all old money gives her black diamond. This is so cheap, it hurts. It physically hurts. Like, black diamonds are way less valuable than any other ones. So even here, he went with the easiest, cheapest option. So going back to my initial point, Carrie indeed was looking for love. She wanted to be loved, but that was never a love which two adult people share. It was love which a lonely, scared child demands from the big other, from parent. And this quite harshly impacted her life. She never found peace and calmness in relationship. She never understood or touched on her own worth. She was always settling for less just to be in the light of this great Mr. Big, who allowed her to love him on the conditions which were convenient for him. Many of us grew up wanting to be Carrie Bradshaw because she had the wardrobe, the apartment, and eventually the elusive tycoon. But once your prefrontal cortex fully matures, you realize the real goal of your 30s isn't to launch a multi-year siege on an emotionally unavailable man. Isn't to launch a multi-year siege on an emotionally unavailable man.